Okay, so
We saw Silence, the new Martin Scorsese film.
yeah,
And
and the second best movie from 2016 to star Andrew Garfield as a Christian man facing evil in Japan.
yeah, well, kind of. Oh yeah, the guys, because they were kind of jerks about it.
Kind of jerks.
Well, they were jerks, yeah, but not kind. I
Um,
mean, they were pretty.
Executing people for religious beliefs is kind of more than jerks.
Yeah, though, yeah, but yeah, it was a very good film. It was.
Yeah, it is. It's certainly a very convicting story, and
Yeah, though I liked it better than Hacksaw actually, and I thought Garfield's performance was better too. But yeah,
mm,
for me, anyways, because I just
I kind of disagree.
well, because
I feel like the
this movie feels more real to me. The Hacksaw Ridge is a good movie, but it feels very Hollywoodish. It still feels it's really sappy with a lot of droning music, and even though I thought Garfield was good in it, I still felt he was very sappy and just very Hollywoodish acting. When this, I felt he was
I didn't
portraying a
see
real.
that at all.
I felt no, but I did, and in this one I felt like I said, I don't hate Hacksaw Ridge at all. I gave it a good rating,
Yeah, I know.
but in this, I actually saw him playing like a real person, and I was just like, I thought he did a really good
Well, this
job.
story's made up. In Hacksaw Ridge, he is playing a real person.
I know that, but that doesn't just because it's based on a real person doesn't mean it's like. d- But because anyone can be based on like they don't have to and give a good performance. Like Manchester by the Sea, that was a really good movie,
Yeah,
and they seemed like they were real people in that movie, and
yeah,
they weren't that wasn't based on a true story either.
yeah. Hacksaw Ridge, though, I feel like not one moment of that movie was wasted. Just every second of it was so harrowing. Here, it feels like scenes are a bit too extended. This is a very long movie. It's almost 3 hours. In fact,
I don't really agree with
there were
that
three
much.
people in front of us who walked out about 20 minutes before the end.
There were a couple other people who also walked out too,
Yeah,
but because
I would say this is anyway. This is probably not a movie for everyone.
yeah,
But
I don't know. I was pretty invested through the entire movie. I don't. I mean, there were some points where I felt it was going on. Like I wasn't sure where the movie was going. I was just kind of bored. But then it moved on. Like, oh, okay, now I see where they're going with it. And then I was interested again. But I don't know. For me, I none of this really bugged me, and I felt. And though even though this might not be 100% based on a true story, I think this did actually happen though. Stuff like this did
well,
happen
yeah, stuff like that did happen. But
because the guy wrote the
in the
book, the book this is based on. He also wrote another book about he also wrote another book about Christianity in Japan as well. He's written he I guess that's his
hmm,
topic is always he's always talking about how Christianity is in
yeah.
Japan.
So after when I saw that Martin Scorsese was doing this movie about Christianity, and he did The Last Temptation of Christ, I was a little
Concerned?
yeah, I was a little concerned about it, but for the most part, I think he really does portray the religion, the faith really well, with the exception of like the very end. I'll get to that in a bit. But but yeah, this movie this movie gets into like the you see like part of the time the voiceover I don't think really worked. It was just kind of explaining things. The parts where it does work is when it gets into prayer, and in those scenes it gets into the psychology of faith wrestling with doubt, and I just thought those scenes were really powerful,
Mm-hmm.
and in fact this movie, I don't know if this is what Martin Scorsese intended, but the movie is kind of the answer to that question that everyone keeps asking about why God allows bad things to happen, especially to his followers, because as the main character, Andrew Garfield is witnessing all this torment to Christians in Japan. He's frightened about it happening to him, and so he's and so before that happens, though, he's uh, he's praying. Are you really there, or am I just praying to silence? And so this movie shows that you know for certain that your faith is like just completely firm when you do go through the kind of torment that's in this movie, because
Well, I'm listening.
you know
I'm listening.
we know the
I'm just letting you
phrase,
go.
whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And of course this kind of does, well, in a lot of cases these people are killed, but up until that point, when they're still there, then they know for themselves that it's pretty much finished. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I liked.
so that I found to be very strong. Yeah.
Yeah, I liked that they showed the suffering and stuff was pretty interesting. I'm pretty like, well, that how harsh the suffering in this is, really like just to show how hard, how relentless they were to try to make sure people didn't believe in didn't believe in, well, at least in Christianity or whatever, and that just like to see all the suffering's really, well, just like, wow, hard to watch and well handled for the most part. Just like, yeah, it's,
Yeah.
and the villains, of course, the are really interesting in the way they are, just like how relentless, just angry, just like how relentless, and they torment Andrew Garfield at every turn.
Mm-hmm.
At least when they catch him, anyways.
Yeah, and he really gets into quite a pickle, because because they don't torture him as much as other people, and so he's really at a crossroads in this point, because he's not renouncing his faith. It's causing harm to these other Christians.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, and so that really brings forward a lot of questions about what to do when that happens,
Mm-hmm.
if it ever does happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But
this is probably like the best faith-based movie. Like I told you this earlier about, yeah, this I've ever seen, because most faith-based films, when they try to say, oh, they don't show anything of, like, they don't show anyone having any doubts or anything. It's just always like, oh, I mean, they show some people have
well,
doubts, kind of,
they
but
do sometimes, but
it's always, but they're always, another thing too is also the acting's always terrible.
not always. The acting in, actually, God's Not Dead 2 was pretty solid.
Not from what I've seen, though. It looks pretty meh.
Yeah.
TV, like, they're not terrible, just very TV, like, like they could do for a movie. They should up their game a bit, acting. And also just their production values aren't that great usually. But since this is a Scorsese film, you know he's gonna.
Yeah,
also,
of course.
I'm glad that. I'm also glad that most of the actors in this were Japanese, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
They didn't just have it too many white people, like the Grudge, the remake of the Japanese remake of the movie Jawan, where it's supposed to be set in Japan, but there's all these white people everywhere.
Yeah.
But there's only like a few. There's only Garfield, Adam Driver, and Liam Neeson are the only like white people.
And Kiara and Hins at the very beginning.
Yeah, but they're in China at the time, I think.
Yeah, of course, but yeah.
It's just, but yeah, just to see all the,
I mean, you know,
the
that
brutal stuff.
You know that Scorsese is gonna have an eye for details like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even very hard to think about the kind of people who live there.
Yeah, though it's a very, but yeah, just to see how harsh they treated people and stuff was just like, wow, that's pretty messed up. Because like,
yeah,
because I believe that anyone should be allowed to believe whatever they want. Like, I think that if people, like, because I think if the missionaries, because these people were, I guess they were afraid if Christians came in, then everyone would become Christians. I don't think that'd be true. I think there would still be some people who would stick to the faith. It's just, and I think the reason why a lot of even these people that they're trying to force probably wanted to convert because people don't like to be forced to do things. If you try to force people to do things, they kind of get angry and they go, well, I'll do this to do that or something like that. Or it's like, oh, you don't want me to be a Christian? Well, I'll be even more Christian or whatever. If you do, it's
Yeah.
just it usually can end up backfiring because nowadays Japan seems okay with anyone
Oh yeah,
believing
Japan
whatever.
is a great country now.
Yeah, they let anyone believe what they're not just they're not just like, oh, that guy wants to believe in that guy's Jewish, kill him. Do
Yeah.
that. I'm just trying to name another religion because also it's interesting because a lot of religions, not just a lot of people forget. I think some people do forget this. A lot of other religions, not just Christianity, have killed for their beliefs as well. Like the Taliban, they don't believe in Christianity and they kill people.
Hmm.
There's plenty of other
And of course ISIS. But
yeah, but there's plenty of other religions out there that have. I'm not saying everyone, but most people do tend to forget. Most people tend to just focus on Christianity, but a lot of other religions have killed for their beliefs too. It happened, and it still happens today. Every not just Christianity, a bunch of other religions too. It's just mainly if you go to other countries, you'll see like this how bad it can be or whatever.
yeah.
But
So
acting wise, who did you think
um
everyone was good?
I think yeah, I thought everyone was very good. Although I did kind of think the guy who played the Inquisitor, I,
His voice was a little silly,
yeah,
but he was
his
still
acting came across as a bit on the cartoony side, like
well.
when Andrew Gar when Sebastian, I think Sebastian,
Yeah.
when he tells him that he doesn't understand Christianity, and he like is like it almost looks like he's slowly sinking into his seat, like he's going into a show hole,
Yeah.
and
Well, it's just because he's really like
even
just
the
like,
guy on
oh,
my
you're just not getting it or something
yeah,
like
even the
that.
guy on my left was like, "What's he doing?"
Also, there's
Actually, the guy on my left honestly kind of looked like Mel Gibson.
also there's that other guy who keeps what I forgot his name. The guy who led them to Japan. He keeps flip flopping. Like he'll be like, oh, I need to confess I did something bad. Then he's like, Jesus sucks. And then he comes back. I need to confess.
Hmm.
He's just like he keeps flip flopping that guy.
Yeah,
But that guy was funny.
yeah,
He
and
made people
so
laugh a lot of
yeah,
times with it.
and this movie is very well shot. The only Academy Award nomination it got was for cinematography.
That's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, I'd say
I think, because I think if I actually saw this in 2016, I might have actually put it on my number. I actually might have made this number one over Kubo. I think,
really,
I think so. Yeah, I
really,
really
you
like
think
this.
it's that good?
Yeah, I think I really enjoyed
Hmm.
this film. Like I thought it was this
Yeah.
for me. This is this year. This year's 12 Years a Slave. This is the
Hmm.
movie that goes on forever that I was really invested in for the most part.
Yeah. It's funny. This is the kind of movie that I think is made for me, but I'm still kind of questioning whether or not I'm gonna put on my
Though I
top
still
10, which
like
I'll be working on very soon.
Though I still like
But
12 Years a Slave better though.
okay, but
But mainly because I don't know. I guess maybe I just felt more for the. I don't know. I just found 12 Years a Slave more engaging for me, anyways.
yeah. The
But
funny thing is, we waited to see if there was a score composed by credit, and there was, but the movie has no musical score.
at least we didn't hear any,
Yeah,
because same thing with
if there
No Country.
was, it was very faint.
I remember
But
when I saw No Country for Old Men. I remember I'm like, I see there's a score here, but I don't remember hearing any score throughout the entire movie.
yeah, and it really works for like the well silent atmosphere, I
Yeah, it's
guess.
called Silence. It's not called Silence with some music.
Uh-huh.
It's just like very like it'd be funny if it's like with some music and you have to like use a magnifying glass. It's like so small. It's like
Hmm.
just to see that.
Yeah, yeah. So
But yeah, I thought this was really good, and I thought it handled both, even Buddhism. I thought they handled it well in a way. They didn't. I mean, sure, yeah, the bad guys were evil, but it wasn't like they weren't like it wasn't just pointing it as like if this was by Pure Flicks. They would keep pointing like Buddhism is evil. Don't believe in
mhm.
it or something. They didn't do that. They were just mainly focusing on these
I don't think
evil.
even they would have done that. But
They probably would have. Well, at least they would have done it. Maybe, you know. But yeah, I'm just saying because it's Pure Flicks is probably would. I'm not sure. Then again, they didn't make this movie, so I can't say.
mhm,
And
yeah,
I don't know. I don't.
I can even imagine like haters going, Martin Scorsese is falling for it too. Well, you know, Christians are a third of the world's population. They're not persecuted. You know that
Yeah,
irrelevant argument. But
yeah. Because I don't think. Yeah, because I don't think he he's saying like he's not even saying like because I don't think he's against any religion. I think he was just making this movie to show that
yeah,
that it can happen to anyone or whatever.
yeah. I am actually curious now as to what he does believe.
Yeah.
And I'm even wondering, is Garfield religious at all? I mean, uh after this and Hacksaw Ridge in 1 year, it's I don't know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah,
And as long as this movie is, I think if I saw it again, it wouldn't be so bad.
yeah.
Really.
So
Like
so
when
there
I
is
remember that when I saw The Wolf of Wall Street, when I saw it the first time, that felt really long. The second time I saw it, it didn't feel so bad. But
yeah.
okay, keep going. You're gonna say
Yeah,
something.
so there is one scene that I don't really get. It's in the middle when he goes down to that stream and he sees the picture of Jesus in place of his reflection,
Hmm.
and and then it goes away and he starts laughing maniacally,
Yeah. Well, because he kind of does look like Jesus, kind of. But I guess yeah.
and that and that
I
and
think he's
that
just kind of going to
causes laughter in
well
him. I don't know.
because he's a little delirious. He's kind of hungry, and even though he did have some water, he didn't have enough that he's probably still really thirsty. He's just really delirious, and he is also starting to have doubts at that point. There are many points where he starts to have doubts, but then he'll be
Maybe.
okay.
Yeah.
But
The funny thing is,
yeah.
as I was watching that, and then the Japanese approach, he like grabs his bag and like all his
Also, he did it his head. That can kind of mess with your head a
yeah,
little bit too.
and all of his like cross symbols and whatnot just fall out. I was like, okay, that's pretty hokey. This is definitely a dream. A few minutes later, I'm like, okay, it's not a dream, right?
Though
That was
so
kind of weird.
another scene that they were trying to guess make seem sincere that made me laugh for some reason was the part where Garfield had to announce his faith and they showed like Jesus and he was talking to him. That part made me laugh for some reason just
Um,
because there was because there was a there's the comedy the Christmas comedy movie The Night Before, and there's a part where Seth Rogen's character is really on he's like on all these drugs and he's near a nativity scene. He's like, hey, can I borrow your cane? He's like, yeah, sure, go ahead. He's talking to like the one of the wise men. It just makes you think of that
mm,
scene.
okay, yeah, okay. So yeah, it was definitely I was definitely really compelled throughout this movie up until the very end where I felt like it kind of lost some of its effect. And
Right.
so like after that scene where he hears Jesus talking to him, he telling him he needs to step on the stone that has the carving of Jesus in it so that these people can be freed.
Yeah.
And so he goes on living in Japan for the rest of his life after that. And we're told he never like spoke a word about his faith again. He never prayed at all. And they say it's because the purpose of his faith was fulfilled long before his death. And so he didn't really need to have it anymore.
We still had that cross too. He
Well,
still did the
well, yeah, he
cross on it.
still had it, but he didn't like need to act on it anymore. And so that's something that this movie really misses. So he so let's say that like for me, let's say that the purpose of my faith in Jesus, let's say that it was fulfilled a few years ago. And so yeah, that purpose is fulfilled. If that's the case, why am I still here? Why doesn't God just take me home right now? If every moment of your life is a purpose for you to live your faith. And so that's something this movie really missed, and I felt like there it just kind of lost a bit of its effect.
Well, for you anyways, but I think for most people who aren't not just like for non-Christians, but people who maybe who are Christians who aren't 100% like you, like the way you are, because there are many types of Christians, and not everyone believes in the same thing. And with Christianity, they all have their own way of interpreting it or whatever. They might see it as because I guess he just felt no, because at the same time, if he did pray or do one of the things, he would have died, or they would have made him watch people suffer again. He kind of had to stop doing that so he could, the people would, because then they would have just made more people suffer in front of him, and it would have gone back to where he was. So he kind of had to. And I don't think it's just because he gave up. I mean, he probably maybe he
Yeah, I
still
know
found
he
times
he
to pray. They just no one ever saw him find times to pray or whatever. He
yeah.
probably still prayed sometimes or something like that. And it did. I guess his wife did put the prayer bead in his hand. It looked like she was doing something when she was giving him his last rites or
Yeah.
whatever his thing they were taking from. I think she put the cross in him because I think he did still
The
believe in
old
the end.
age makeup on him in the final scenes is way better than Mila Jovovich in the last Resident Evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. That was pretty bad. Like I said, I do agree that there are some parts in that movie that were just stupid. But then again, I don't think the movies are masterpieces anyway. So, and I know they have they're stupid. But yeah. But
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, I like this film. I thought it was all the acting was good. Liam Neeson too was pretty good, though he wasn't
Mhm.
in it as much as. Then again, the person who's in this most was Garfield. Driver has a point where he just kind of disappears, and then he comes back, and then that's his last scene.
Yeah.
So, but it's a really good film to show suffering that people went through for their beliefs and stuff, and all that, and just it has really good acting and of course no music, so I can't say
Mhm.
good music. Though there is a soundtrack, so I want to hear how it sounds. So like, is it just is that all the score was just sound effects?
Mhm.
I have to because maybe
I
I
don't
missed
know.
some. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So
Want to grade it or
yeah, I guess so. So yeah, I'm gonna give Silence an A minus.
all right? Yeah, but this is very good. I'd recommend it to you if you do not if you can stand if you can't if you think you can stand like a movie that's like 2 hour almost 3 hours long. I don't think it's exactly 3 hours. It's close. Yeah, this is a really long movie, so if really long movies are not your thing, then you're not going to love this film. So I'm gonna give it an A. It's really good.
Okay.
Check it out.
Not an A plus, even though you might consider putting it above Cubo.
Yeah, I don't know, just
Well,
A's for good for me with this
I
movie.
guess it doesn't. I
Grading
guess
doesn't
it
matter
doesn't
when it
have
comes
to.
to
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
that.
Okay. So no new trailers. So
Yeah, there's like zero, which is fine because this movie came out technically last year, so I wouldn't have really suspected that many new trailers anyways. I'm just
yeah.
glad we got to see this. Like I was starting to abandon hope that we would actually see this thing because it's not available to Bottega anymore, and I couldn't see it because my brother can't drive anymore because his car's in the shop, and I don't think my mom would have wanted to drive me to a really late movie. So, but I'm just glad I got to see it at all. So,
Okay.
yep.
So all right.
So and let's
So
remind
are there
everyone. Oh,
any days next weekend that you might be available at all?
I'm not going to be here at all next weekend. I'm leaving Thursday to visit my dad,
Okay, and
and that's when Rings comes out, right? Well,
rings and yeah,
John will probably be available. He's not sick anymore because the reason why he couldn't come is one, he was still in California, and two, he was sick.
yeah.
So now that he's feeling better, he should be able to come. So don't worry. And I'll just probably see Rings with my dad or something like that,
Yeah.
even though they, and my brother, even though they particularly do not like horror movies.
Yeah. So it's rings and the space between us. That is, if it doesn't get bumped back again in the next 6 days.
Though
Well, we're close enough, so it looks like we're finally going to catch it.
though I'm hoping that it does stay the middle, like because you remember because it's from the same writer as Collateral Beauty. I
Mm.
really hope the space between us stays
So
like
that you don't have to see it.
the way the trailer looks. Like because the Collateral Beauty, the trailer made it look like it was just like it looked. I still don't think it looked good, but it looked like a sappy movie and a sappy-ish movie. Like I wouldn't have enjoyed it for that. Like I still wouldn't have enjoyed it, but it's sappy. Like, but then that turned out to be like really dumb, about with stupid twists and
Mm-hmm.
like turns that just made no sense.
Yeah.
I'm really hope the space between us doesn't have anything like that because if you guys haven't seen it or whatever, whenever I get back, I could consider seeing it, but like I don't know, I'll just see what everyone thinks, and then
Okay.
again, because like I'm not gonna go see it with my dad and brother. I don't really think because if it does turn out to be really bad, I'm not gonna want to force them to see it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it looks like we're finally going to see space between us, but still not so certain if we're ever going to see Amityville: The Awakening.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that one's actually Space Between Us is going to be bumped back because I think it was bumped because it was kind of it was a really like just like there was way too many movies. It was up
Well, it was
against.
several times. Last time it was because of Rogue One, but
Oh, it was bumped back to no. Okay, well,
yeah.
hopefully they don't because that's just like just let everyone see this movie if it's especially if it's awful because it's from the same writer of Collateral Beauty, The Dilemma, The Switch, So Undercover.
Oh boy.
Basically, just a crappy writer. The only film of his that actually has a good percentage is like this one movie with Halle Berry that's like a sappy movie or something like that. That's like his only movie that has like has a 66%, but that's technically the best I think he can get from his writing. And there might have been
All
other
right.
writers
Well.
that kind of say shove his like, wow, this sucks, get lost, we're fixing this script.
Mhm. Well, if anything else, it has Britt Robertson.
He's pretty good.
Right. All right. So, yeah, guess that's all for now.
Yep.
And take it from the shirt. You have the right to not remain silent.